Well, I think it's fair to say 9.75 because it's both the same, one and the same. It's 6 to the village, 9.75 to the customer.
Right.
So they're both relative to one another, but yeah, if once it exceeds what that can cover, that's where the PCA
Right,
comes in.
and where he's at is,
Number
three, increases from 6 cents to 8.9.
That's what the point you heard me mention to him. In order to get it back to 0, that adder had to change, that formula. This is just for formula purposes, because we were using, on a 9.75, our base rate was 6. So on 13, the base rate would be
The
8.9.
Same as
What are we
number
paying
one.
right now? Like if you paid today, what it cost us,
Our cost,
the village's cost?
I don't have the bill in front of me, but we're paying whatever it,
Well,
whatever that
typically, if it's been
PCA
13, we're paying 8.9.
yeah, what the PCA,
Yeah,
And
so
that
if
together-
we pass this, I'm just wondering what the PCA would be the very first month. It could be nothing,
Right.
or it could be 1 cent,
or it could be a parentheses.
Could be negative.
You know, it could actually be a credit.
okay, just wanted to be sure on that.
See, that's what's nice about the PCA, for lack of better understanding. It makes sure that we recover the cost that it costs the village. Because, and the easiest way I explain it to most customers is just like at the gas station. When they come and they drop that fuel in the ground, you don't pay, you pay what's on that truck that day. That's what the number goes to. They tell me it's right off what's on that truck. You may have had it in the ground for more money or less money, but you go by what they drop it in that day. That's what the numbers. That's what the PCA does, because if our rate would all of a sudden go from 6 cents to 9 cents, the PCA has to kick in to cover that. Otherwise, the village has to write the check,
Well, typically,
even before you sell it to anybody.
typically December, January, and February are your least months that you're gonna get credit. You know, that's when our power usually costs us the most.
Well,
And in July,
Could be if it's
and
hot months,
August.
hot months.
The 2 hot months and the cold
I
months.
will tell you, Waynesfield is one of the privileged few. We're winter peakers, and they base the rates on the biggest consumer of, when they set the peak rate, it's on the hottest days of the year. It's like in July, and they'll tell me each year what the peak, and that's what the rate is based on for the peak rate. And we're what you call a winter peaker, so we get the benefit of that. When we are at our highest, we get the benefit of it. The customer does, because our highest usage is in the winter, as the mayor's saying, versus in the summer. And when you go beyond your usage, you go into peak. Well, we get the better rate because we're.
I'll make a motion to declare our ordinance 16 dash what?
Are you doing emergency or just first reading?
Emergency.
Okay, so you're gonna suspend the rules of 3 readings.
Is that the way you guys really wanted to do it, or?
I really wanted to have a first reading this month, and the next month, just go ahead and pass it as an emergency. That gives people a chance to kind of digest it a little bit. At least we've got something started here, and so if we do it that way.
Everybody that's not lynched can vote on it next month.
So then it's just a motion for first reading.
I'll make a motion to do the first reading, so ordinance 16 dash what?
11-1.
To establish electric rate increases for the village of Waynesfield and declaring an emergency.
Don't have to declare emergency.
Three readings. You gotta be two.
To omit that part.
Do
This
the
is just,
emergency
yeah,
next
this
month.
is just first
Yeah.
reading.
Just first reading.
Remember.
It was
do the
written.
emergency next month.
Tell Mark he wrote it wrong too.
I will.
All right, just for a first reading. Miller,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Harden,
Yes.
Knox.
Yes.
Okay. That gets us started. Okay, let's go to committee reports. Do we have anything? Police report?
Trick or treat went, well, it seems like it was forever ago, but it went really well this year in Waynesfield. There were no reports of any vandalism or criminal mischief during or after trick or treat, as we've seen in some years. So overall, I'm happy with the way that night went. As 2016 draws to a close, and among other daily duties that I have, I'm in process of transitioning our records and everything to 2017. That task usually takes about a month to get everything, all our files switched over and everything like that. It always takes time to move paper files into the archive, computer files have to be updated, etc. The last thing I have is our call volume hasn't really changed much since the last council meeting. I've been very busy with extended investigations, day-to-day duties and calls, as well as trying to maintain an active approach to law enforcement. The mostly mild weather has actually made the shifts busier as usual, as issues we normally see in the late summer and early spring are cropping up now, such as we've had some vehicle break-ins, curfew issues, and quite a few suspicious activity calls in and around the area. So things I thought would slow down once school started, however, they haven't. Anybody has any answers on how to make that slow down, please get with me after the meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Administrator.
Just real quick, I'm gonna cover a few things because I know it's been lengthy and we still got appropriations to do. Wanted to say that we got approved for a grant from the ODNR for $55,235 for next year. That is pending that they fund the program. I mean, we've been approved, we got awarded, but it won't be official until like when they do their fiscal year budgeting first year, and if they fund that program, we were granted, and that's for the walking path to extend and continue the walking path. That's what that grant money's for, so that's $55,235. Also, we've got tentatively an OPWC grant for $70,000 for blacktopping of streets next year, with a $10,000 match, which gives us $80,000 worth of blacktopping village streets. So we will work collectively to get those done. So I've been told verbally that we were awarded that. I'm still waiting for the paperwork, so we can look forward to that. And I think that's a huge grant asset for the village. And then also the pond at the industrial park that many of you may have noticed, they started doing that part of it. That was the portion that the village would do in order for the stormwater on the north end and everything, getting that in place. And then I don't know exactly the contractor's starting date. I haven't got with Doug yet as far as when they will start. Probably, I'm thinking more in the spring, but he has like a July completion date to do all that stormwater work. And the lagoons are in the final stages. They're out there doing some final touch-ups on controls and getting some ballast in the lagoons and everything. We had talked about doing a site visit. The council had talked about wanting to do that. It had been really muddy. We didn't have the driveways in place, but they're in place now. I think absolutely, I think you'll be very impressed and pleased with how it looks aesthetically. So I look for that to be finalized out very near But, so, if you want to coordinate to where we have a group go out or individually, but I think you'll be well pleased with it. So that's been a very smooth operation to get to that point. So with that, that's all I have.
Kind of like a comment about the streets. I noticed the state guys sealed all the cracks, right? You can really see where the city limits is. Have you noticed that going back and forth to home? They sealed all the cracks and just boom, stopped right at the city limits. It makes me wonder how bad our cracks need sealed when they.
On the city, the village streets, yeah, we sealed the streets.
I know, but when you go home, you look out there by Merle Carter's where they stopped. I mean, it's every 2 feet, lines all the way, you know, to Uniopolis, it looks like. And it makes me wonder, how are ours inside the.
Well, I've been also looking at, because this is all new and everything, looking at grant applications and working with possibly seeing what we can do on Walpole Street, that being a state highway. We do have funds that are earmarked for state highway, and I think if we could start looking at putting something together, when they're, you know, they're gonna blacktop down through there and coordinate that to where we can get that part of it like we did this part, going through that way and get that done too.
Yeah, I didn't look to see how many cracks there are, but man, it's funny how many they did out there and then just stopped. I mean,
Yeah, they don't wanna come in unless it's,
you know, you really pay attention when you go out there, you'll see what I mean. It's really like, man. Maybe we ought to have one of those machines to do that. You know, I can't think it'd be that.
well, they're free,
Yeah, if you buy enough stuff on.
but you gotta have the stuff, so,
Yeah.
I mean, that is one thing nice about
We
it.
spent several $1,000s
Yeah,
on
yeah, we
stuff,
did, yeah, this year.
on the filler, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hoping with this grant that we're getting 80,000, that we're gonna really address a lot of our secondary streets and side streets and, you know, hopefully some, you know. But amazingly with blacktop, it doesn't go very far, you know.
Yeah, it's petroleum.
So typically, every 2 to 4 years, we do some blacktopping, and typically, we usually spend somewhere between $12,000 and $18,000, is that right? So, an $80,000 punch will be probably pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a 90-10 match, you know, $70,000 grant with $10,000 match. So what we did was, instead of making it 60,000 with no match, which is what it would have been, because you would have lost 10, since we normally spend 10, and we were just about at that cycle, we said, let's put that with it, get the full amount, so we actually get 80,000 worth out of 10,000 contribution. That's a good bang for our buck. And that should start, that probably won't be awarded until July of next year, so it'd be, if anybody wants to know, that would be after that.
Pretty good in the fall.
But that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's Court, it's $1,381 deposited in the general fund for Mayor's Court. Due to the holidays, December council meeting will be on the 19th. Mark your calendars for that. I have an ordinance here. This has to do with Mayor's Court. We found somebody that would be willing to do the magistrate work for the village. I would still hear arraignments and so on, but as far as any of the trials and everything, that would be done by the magistrate. His name is Richard Miller III. You got Lima, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it would be the same retainer and costs that we paid our previous magistrate. Be $500 retainer, and then it'd be $100 for each Mayor's Court appearance.
Well, I know, Mike, I'm gonna have somebody ask me, why are you not doing it, or, I mean, you're doing it now, or?
Yeah, typically, I'm not allowed now to have trial. Okay, and the way Auglaize County works, we was under the assumption we could just shift it to municipal, but that's not the way Auglaize works. So what we have to do is hold our own session, and then if a person wants to move on and have what they call a redo in municipal, then they go to Wausau. Is that correct, Dick?
Yes.
What's happened in the past, most cases, people pay their fine, okay? They don't even appear at court. So, I think the retainer for a magistrate, in my opinion, is a good insurance policy to have, because if somebody would come in not guilty and blah, 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 then I'm hung, really.
And you can't hear it past
I
the
can't-
arraignment
yeah.
based on the Supreme Court rulings.
So if we have a magistrate, that money stays here, or it goes to the,
No, it still stays here.
Stays
but
here.
It still stays here.
if it would go to the fault, then it would go, the money would go there, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and see, that was always the problem, and, when you didn't hold mayor's court, then everything went
Right.
to county. Now it all stays here.
And if you don't have court, you don't pay. Is that correct for that?
Right, we pay the retainer,
Right.
but only if we call him in on a case, we pay the $100. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, and if I could just add to that, in a roundabout way, it'll actually save the village, I think it'll actually save the village some money, because if we look at, taking mayor's court as a whole, not just traffic-related offenses, we talked about in past meetings about some of the ordinances, junk vehicles, that type of thing, that if they get cited, rather than citing them into municipal court, which means the county again would see all the funds, if we bring them into mayor's court, there's a little bit more leniency with their arraignment, and we can work with them a little bit more as opposed to just citing them into municipal court. We bring them into mayor's court, they have their arraignment, they say, I still don't agree with this ordinance, I want to plead not guilty because I don't think that I'm in violation. What we can then do is have a trial here in these chambers with our magistrate, as opposed to sending it to municipal court, and then the magistrate, which is an independent party, then has a little bit of flexibility that the judge may not have, because the municipal court judge hears thousands of cases a year. So he may not be willing to say, okay, I'm going to stay your sentence for 30 days till you get your property cleaned up, if that's a recommendation from our solicitor or what have you. If they go to municipal court, judge is going to say, this is a fine, get it out of here, I've got a million more cases to hear. Through mayor's court, if we go to trial, that magistrate has the option, and the judge would too, but the magistrate would have the option of saying, okay, I'm going to give you 30 days, we'll suspend your sentence. If after 30 days you're in compliance, then that's, you're not going to have to pay us any money. You're not going to be fined or potentially face jail time or that type of thing. Gives us a little bit more wiggle room. And again, I think for that $500 retainer, that is a very minimal cost. I thought that was actually a really good price to get an attorney, and then it's only $100 if he comes down for, essentially it'd be for trial. So, I think it's, my personal opinion, I think that's a really good deal. One of the other things I'd point out on page 2 of the let me see, it's kind of page 1, page 2. Mr. Miller's agreed that he won't be paid mileage, and he also, where's it at here? He will also obtain the training at his own cost. So, we don't have to pay him to go to Columbus or anything like that to obtain the training to be magistrate. He has been, and Mr. Reese can talk about some of his qualifications, but I believe he was previously a magistrate in the Allen County court system.
Juvenile court.
In juvenile court, okay. So he does have experience. It's not like he's just an attorney off the street that says, yeah, I'll do this. He does have experience as a magistrate, so.
Yeah, I was gonna add, I've known Rick for a number of years. His main office is in Lima, he lives in Bath. Wife, 2 girls, 1 girl's in college, I believe. But his practice, he's done criminal work, he's done domestic work, he's done just kind of a general practice, as most of us in Lima have done. But I was in front of him a number of times when he was on the bench in juvenile court, and he was magistrate out there for a number of years, and he did a really good job. Kept control of the courtroom, kept things moving, he knows what he's doing. If this is what you decide to do, you wouldn't be making a mistake hiring Rick. And going back to the reason for it, in addition to what the chief said, the mayor can't hear these even if he wanted to because of the Supreme Court rulings. The Supreme Court said that the mayor in all mayor's courts has a vested interest. They want to find him guilty and fine him regardless of the guilt or the evidence presented, because all the money stays at the mayor's court. This way you get around that hurdle and you've got an unbiased third party to hear the case, and if he's found guilty, the funds stay here.
This ordinance was drafted as an emergency also, so if you choose to pass it as an emergency, we'll have to suspend the rules for 3 readings. And it says, the president shall be for a term of 1 year beginning January 1st, 2017.
Renew it every year.
I'll make a motion to suspend the reading of, ruling of 3 readings, declare an emergency, to adopt ordinance 16-11-2, an ordinance appointing Richard Miller III to serve as magistrate for the village of Waynesfield Mayor's Court and declare an emergency.
Okay, first you have to have a vote to suspend the rules, go to that, and then, right?
Yep, so this first, you need a second, and then the first vote will be for the emergency.
Just suspend the rules.
Yes.
I'll second.
Miller,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Arden,
Yes.
Knox,
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Now this part will be to pass the actual ordinance.
You need another motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 16-11-2,
Yep.
appointing Richard Miller III to serve as magistrate for the village of Waynesfield Mayor's Court and that's it.
That's it. I'll second.
Miller,
Yes.
Zimmerman.
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Arden,
Yep.
Knox.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Do the old business, we've got a letter there, picture on the bank.
This is what the school voted to have put on their banners. Our banners will have a blue background and white lettering going up and down, welcome to Waynesfield.
Hopefully we'll have a sample soon. Some options to show you guys.
And as I read this, it says there's 33 banners total. There would be 17 village banners and 16 WG banners. And they have offered to pay for all of them
If we install them.
if we install them. And I think we could probably do that.
The one good thing, the last meeting, that lady, I think, she's clerk of courts, or said that must have been Grosse Point, that theirs is $130. The guy we talked to that makes the banners for St. Reed's and Memorial Hospital and all them companies in Lima, he can make them for $40 a banner. 18 to 36. Good quality banners. We seen them, and Fred seen them, and Mr. Feaster and Tim Pants from the school was here that day. We met with them, and
They have sounds like a majority of all the banner business in the area.
Yeah.
They do Bluffton, St. Rita's, I think the city of Lima.
Cheap sign company.
Yeah,
yeah,
They do Lima.
yeah. Actually, we got the number.
Bill Lyons.
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
from
Bob,
Bob,
and,
and they came out,
Yeah.
did a super job. They're actually creating a couple,
Building a new building.
not to
addition.
speak for Bob, but when we met with them, they asked us to give them some samples, ideas, because they have actually 5 graphic designers on staff. And so the school sent them a couple ideas, and they sent them back a couple templates to choose from, and that was one of them. I guess, in fairness to us, ours got lost in the email, so we communicated just today. So, they're gonna try to get a model back to us. What he wants to do is come out and place one at the school and one outside the building here, so we get an idea what it looks like. You know, we'll approve, the committee and so forth will approve that template, but it'll be put up to look at and go from there. But, very pleased with, what they offered, and the product they offered for the cost. And then, but that has nothing to do with the schools offering here, so.
Well, I think this would be a good way to get started with banners. I know that on down the road, if we should decide to come up with some kind of holiday banners, we can appropriate funds for that on down the road. But this would be a good way to at least get something.
Mr. Feaster thought this would be that way. We could put the flag banners on the poles if we wanted to, since they're gonna cover it for the cost of these city
Are
banners.
those two-sided?
Yeah,
And going forward, I mean, this cheap sign company, one of the things that they've offered in their service, and I think is invaluable, is they don't charge a setup cost. So going forward, if it gets to a point where a village would like to have multiple styles, you know, like you say, holiday banners, where you can interject them, they won't charge additional setup fees. And that's usually where you get hammered in a lot of things, is setup fees. And since they was telling us how many machines they got and how many graphic designers. So that was very appreciative, that's a value for them.
Well, and you have to remember that this council will always have the right of what banners and
Yeah.
when, you know, they go up, so on, so.
And honestly, going back to us installing the banners, we would prefer to do that because there are lights and we don't want just anybody up there getting on that and handling that. So to me, that was definitely something we want to do because there are lights and there are poles and so.
Is there just one rod sticking out on those?
Two.
There's two,
Two,
so the
yeah.
bottom gets hooked also.
Yeah, what it is they're stitched in a loop, and you
Yeah,
take them
on
off
top and
and you
bottom,
slide them
yeah.
on.
Yeah, they're just a hitch pin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know if there was one on the bottom.
yeah, there's
also.
two,
Yeah.
so they'll be rigid, you know, and
They
they're
won't flip
18
in the
inches
wind
wide
and
by
beat
36
them to
inches
death.
long.
I've had more than one person comment to me, they thought the things were on there backwards, they ought to be the other direction instead of hanging out in the street, they ought to snowplow's gonna hit them, and, man, I hope the snowplows aren't going that fast down through there.
Not that high. The way that is normal is your flags go to the street, your banners go to the sidewalk. And that's how they were put up. And just about any other community that I've went through, that's the way they.
Oh, I thought the things were sticking out into the street.
No, they're going to the sidewalk.
Yeah, the banners are going.
But
to
the
sidewalk.
flags will come out to the street.
Guess I never paid that much attention to them. I just hear what people say, you know.
So what's your thoughts?
I like it. I think it's very generous of the school to do that. So,
When it wasn't in our budget for banners. So,
I like the idea. Can't hardly turn down something free. I know.
No, because we were struggling, trying to figure out how we were going to be able to do something quicker than next year.
Well, we also
Yes.
have to buy street signs, so that's what
Right.
the problem was.
And I look at other communities, some communities in which we may consider this, businesses donate to these types of things where they put a little thing down at the bottom of the banners, and, you know. I think that's a great community thing, where people are helping pay for some of these things, and they get a little bit of advertisement, that type of thing. But we could look at some of those on down the road. For right now, I mean, the offer's on the table that, we'll have banners, for the first round anyway.
I think
Are
we
they
should
vinyl?
accept it.
Is that what they are,
Yeah.
probably?
Yeah.
Chris Cassidy, go ahead.
Mm.
Got
Yeah.
a question. Being the eternal optimist or the eternal pessimist, do you need something in place with if you do this and the school buys the banners, do you need something in place with the school as far as an understanding that you're still in control of the placement and how long
we
they're
have
up
a
and all
verbal,
that?
I guess.
You know,
We
I
have that
did it in writing.
understanding. We have first
That's why I say You
refusal.
always have that, but you probably should
I mean,
specify
Yeah, because in
somehow.
6 months, if you guys wanna change and put something else up and take them down and they say, no, I paid for these, I want these up there.
Yeah, we held on even from the very beginning, the right for approval of the type of sign and how many and so forth. And